Welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Storytime with Kevin and Ty. This morning we are deciding to read Thoughts Without a Thinker by Mark Epstein, MD, a psychotherapy from a Buddhist perspective. This book is really cool. I kind of discovered it in my third year of medical school, and part of my own journey going through medicine was trying to find a union to integrate kind of spirituality, Buddhism with science. And here, Mark Epstein, I think he's a psychiatrist, but he beautifully ties in his work as a psychotherapist, so it's kind of his work as a therapist, with a Buddhist perspective. And he kind of argues that modern day Buddhism complements and works well with Western psychotherapy, and they actually fill in each other's kind of missing gaps. I'm going to I'm just gonna read from chapter 6. The chapter 6 is called Bear Attention. I think this is more important than ever in today's fast-paced society that we live in. As awesome as it is, as stimulating and jam-packed with information that we live in, this kind of technological information era, we need to be mindful and attentive more than ever, because there's just so much things going on and our attention is getting pulled in 10,000 angles and directions. So I think it's really important that we can be aware and attentive of how we're moving about our day-to-day life. So at my first meditation retreat, a 2-week period of silent attention to mind and body, I was amazed to find myself sitting in the dining hall with an instant judgment about each of the 100 other meditators, based on nothing besides how they looked while eating. Instinctively, I was searching out whom I liked and whom I did not. I had a comment for each one. The seemingly simple task of noting the physical sensations of the in and out breath had the unfortunate effect of revealing just how out of control my everyday mind really was. Meditation is ruthless in the way it reveals the stark reality of our day-to-day mind. We are constantly murmuring, muttering, scheming, or wondering to ourselves under our breath, comforting ourselves in a perverse fashion with our own silent voices. Much of our interior life is characterized by this kind of primary process, almost infantile way of thinking. I like this, I don't like that, she hurt me, how can I get that? More of this, no more of that. These emotional tinged thoughts are our attempts to keep the pleasure principle operative. Much of our inner dialogue, rather than the rational secondary process that is usually associated with the thinking mind, is this constant reaction to experience by a selfish, childish protagonist. None of us has moved very far from the 7-year-old who vigilantly watches to see who got more. Yep. Buddhist meditation takes this untrained everyday mind as its starting point, and it requires the development of one particular attentional posture of naked or bare attention, defined as the clear, single-minded awareness of what actually happens to us and in us at the successive moments of perception. Bare attention takes this unexamined mind and opens it up, not by trying to change anything, but by observing the mind, emotions, and body just the way they are. It is the fundamental tenet of Buddhist psychology that this kind of attention is in itself healing, that by constant application of this attentional strategy, all of the Buddhist insights can be realized for oneself. As mysterious as the literature on meditation can seem, as elusive as the koans of the Zen master sometimes sounds, there is but one underlying instruction that is critical to Buddhist thought. Common to all school of thought, from Sri Lanka to Tibet, the unifying theme of the Buddhist approach is this remarkable imperative. Pay precise attention, moment by moment, to exactly what you are experiencing right now, separating out your reactions from the raw sensory events. This is what is meant by bare attention. Just the bare facts. An exact registering, allowing things to speak for themselves as if seen for the first time, distinguishing any reactions from the core event. Diminishing reactivity. It is this attentional strategy that is followed throughout the meditative path. It is both the beginning practice and the culminating one. Only the ones of awareness change. Only the objects of awareness change. Beginning with the in and out breath, proceeding to bodily sensations, feelings, thoughts, consciousness, and finally the felt sense of I. Meditation requires the application of bare attention to increasing subtle phenomena, culminating in a state of choiceless awareness in which the categories of observer and that which is observed are no longer operational. Bare attention eventually obviates self-consciousness and permits the kind of spontaneity that has long intrigued the psychological-minded observers of Eastern practice. This is a spontaneity that Western psychologists confuses with a true self-idea. From the Buddhist perspective, such authentic action leaps forth from the clear perception of bare attention. There is no need to posit an intermediate agent who performs them. So that is pretty mind-boggling. And if it's a little bit over your head, it was for me too when I first read it. And here he's just kind of describing the meditative steps that is involved with the practice. And for me, the practice of meditation it's almost an experiential way that we can examine and almost perform little experiments within our own mind. And this experiment kind of aims to look at how we react to the thoughts that kind of pop up, our judgments, and how in a way this is kind of an illusion. It's an illusion in the sense that the thoughts and the comments and the dialogue and the running commentary that plays out in our mind is just that. It's a rolling commentary. And commentaries can be accurate, but a lot of times our commentary is very personal to us, and it doesn't play out to reality, to what is really happening moment by moment in reality. Like how we kind of, at a very moment by moment level, perceive sensations out around us, how we perceive sound, sights, smells. We're adding a lot of commentary to it, and the commentary is not a clear and accurate representation of what is going on in the world. So here, Mark Epstein kind of describes how through the practice we begin to become less reactive to our environments. And also we kind of move on with the practice first, kind of paying attention to our thoughts, or to our breath, then to our body sensations. Then we kind of move to our feelings, our thoughts, our consciousness, and then lastly, the felt sense of I. Kind of questioning and experiencing through meditation that this notion of the I, of the ego, it doesn't really exist. That this notion of the I is also kind of created within our minds. And if you ask yourself whether that's, every day or within a meditative practice, where is this I? Who am I? And kind of go down this rabbit hole of thinking you might have found the I, you might have located the I, but the more and more you ask where this I is, who is this I, you kind of play this back and forth game of tag, and it's just this kind of ending, kind of unmasking ourselves, and eventually realizing that there is not an I, that, Kevin in a way doesn't really exist. Like, who am I? Like, am I this body? No, this body is constantly changing. It's not like there's no concrete sense of I. There's not a concrete independent I involved. And it's mind-boggling to put into words. But kind of where Mark is kind of pointing to is that through practicing awareness, through almost observing our breath, that there is almost, we kind of develop this observer observing an object, kind of a subject and an object. And you kind of go deeper in the practice, and you kind of realize, like, when you kind of turn that awareness back onto oneself. So now you're trying to observe the observer, and you kind of keep doing that, and you may come to the conclusion that there isn't really a observer, in the sense that there isn't a physical, tangible, independent, concrete observer that isn't changing and is doing the observing. Yeah, it's mind-boggling. So that is Thoughts Without a Thinker by Mark Epstein, MD. My mind is kind of boggled. Just reading a bit about it and chatting about it. And Ty is feeling a bit mind boggled too, but that's okay. It's cool to have our mind boggles every now and then. So we hope you enjoyed listening to some of the book. And we're really, really, really glad that you showed up here today, and you came and read with us. So from Ty and I, we wish you an awesome Saturday, and we will hopefully see you again next Saturday when we read another book. Take care.